Singapore and Jane and I. It does not appear to be customary for superintendents of orphan asylums to bring with them personal maids and Chinese chows. The night watchman and housekeeper who had waited up to receive me were thrown into an awful flutter. They had never seen the like of Sing, and thought that I was introducing a wolf into the fold. I reassured them as to his dogginess, and the watchman, after studying his black tongue, ventured a witticism. He wanted to know if I fed him on huckleberry pie. It was difficult to find accommodations for my family. Poor Sing was dragged off, whimpering, to a strange woodshed and given a piece of burlap. Jane did not fare much better. There was not an extra bed in the building, barring a 5-foot crib in the hospital room. She, as you know, approaches 6. We tucked her in, and she spent the night folded up like a jackknife. She has limped about today, looking like a decrepit letter S, openly deploring this latest escapade on the part of her flighty mistress, and longing for the time when we shall come to our senses and return to the parental fireside in Worcester. I know that she is going to spoil all my chances of being popular with the rest of the staff. Having her here is the silliest idea that was ever conceived, but you know my family. I fought their objections step by step, but they made their last stand on Jane. If I brought her along to see that I ate nourishing food and didn't stay up all night, I might come temporarily. But if I refused to bring her, oh dear me, I am not sure that I was ever again to cross the threshold of Stonegate. So here we are, and neither of us very welcome, I am afraid. I woke by a gong at 6 this morning and lay for a time listening to the racket that 25 little girls made in the lavatory over my head. It appears that they do not get baths, just face washes. But they make as much splashing as 25 puppies in a pool. I rose and dressed and explored a bit. You were wise in not having me come to look the place over before I engaged. While my little charges were at breakfast, it seemed a happy time to introduce myself. So I sought the dining room. Horror piled on horror, those bare drab walls and oilcloth-covered tables with tin cups and plates and wooden benches and, by way of decoration, that one illuminated text, "The Lord will provide." The trustee who added that last touch must possess a grim sense of humor. Really, Judy, I never knew there was any spot in the world so entirely ugly. And when I saw those rows and rows of pale, listless, blue-uniformed children, the whole dismal business suddenly struck me with such a shock that I almost collapsed. It seemed like an unachievable goal for one person to bring sunshine to 100 little faces when what they need is a mother apiece. I plunged into this thing lightly enough, partly because you were too persuasive, and mostly, I honestly think, because that scurrilous Gordon Halleck laughed so uproariously at the idea of my being able to manage an asylum. Between you all, you hypnotized me. And then, of course, after I began reading up on the subject and visiting all those 17 institutions, I got excited over orphans and wanted to put my own ideas into practice. But now I'm aghast at finding myself here. It's such a stupendous undertaking. The future health and happiness of 100 human beings lie in my hands, to say nothing of their 300 or 400 children and 1,000 grandchildren. The thing's geometrically progressive. It's awful. Who am I to undertake this job? Look, oh, look for another superintendent. Jane says dinner's ready. Having eaten 2 of your institution meals, the thought of another doesn't excite me. Later. The staff had mutton hash and spinach with tapioca pudding for dessert. What the children had, I hate to consider. I started to tell you about my first official speech at breakfast this morning. It dealt with all the wonderful new changes that are to come to the John Grier Home through the generosity of Mr. Jervis Pendleton, the president of our Board of Trustees, and of Mrs. Pendleton, the dear Aunt Judy of every little boy and girl here. Please don't object to my featuring the Pendleton family so prominently. I did it for political reasons, as the entire working staff of the institution was present. I thought it a good opportunity to emphasize the fact that all of these upsetting innovations come straight from headquarters and not out of my excitable brain.